It's high time that we awake from our sleep.
The scripture says, prepare to meet thy God. Are you prepared?
If you don't stand for something, then you will fall for anything.
Hey guys, welcome into Taking a Stand. Today, we are so excited to be back with you. And this week, I am really excited about what we're going to be sharing about with you guys. Today, we have a special guest on our show. Her name is Val Duval. And hi, Val. How are you?
Hi, Pastor Phil. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes. And Val, you and your family experienced some tyranny in China. You and your husband and your family, you guys attend our church. And I've had several conversations with you that are just really interesting and really exciting. I mean, not exciting in a good way, but exciting in the sense that I'm hearing from somebody who has a family that has experienced the tyrannical oppression of the communistic government. And it's not often that you get to speak directly to someone with that kind of experience. And so in that sense, it's been exciting for me, but I can't imagine what your family has gone through. But today she's going to be sharing with us just about some of the tyranny that your family experienced there in China. And it's also a warning, though, to us here in America,
absolutely,
because of some of the signs that you're seeing here in the United States of America,
100%,
that are pointing to the same direction of a tyrannical, all-controlling kind of government. And we see that happening here in the United States of America. And so, Val, why don't you just give us a little introduction to yourself and a little bit about yourself and your family?
Okay, thank you, Pastor Phil. So I'm the third generation of immigrants.
Okay.
And our family has moved from country to country, just looking for better quality of life and a place where we can live freely.
Okay.
So it started from my grandparents. They moved from China to Indonesia in the early 1900s. That's where my parents were born.
Okay.
So in 1960s, the Chinese government, it was Mao at that time, promoted China in Indonesia. He told the Chinese Indonesian how wonderful China was and welcomed all the Chinese to move back.
Right.
So my family, along with many others, fell for that propaganda and decided to move back to China. Little did they know that it was in the middle of the biggest famine in the world.
Wow.
And so life, was difficult. The famine at that time, we don't know exactly how many people died, but it was estimated that the death rate was between 20 to 43 million people. Wow. So it was huge. Yeah. And after the famine, it was the Cultural Revolution. Yeah. So my family went through that. And in the early 1970s, we were lucky enough to be able to move to Hong Kong. And at that time, I was a few years old. So I grew up in one of the most free cities in the world.
Yeah.
It's no longer free, by the way, but at that time,
Yeah.
it was one of the most free cities in the world.
That's so sad. I was in Hong Kong in 1998, and I remember it was a pretty amazing city, and just walking around and visiting a bunch of different places and all the shops, I just was struck by the busyness. There were so many people and there was so much business taking place. And and then it's just really saddened my heart to see what's happened over the last several years.
Absolutely.
It's being locked down now.
It's really heartbreaking. A lot of businesses have closed.
Yeah.
Many people migrated to Europe.
Okay.
And in 1998, you said when you went, it was just after the takeover.
Okay.
So the Chinese government took over Hong Kong in 1997. And the reason why I'm here is because in 1989, do you remember the Tiananmen Square massacre in Beijing?
Yes.
It was a student movement. They were looking for free speech, democracy, and anti-corruption.
Right.
And the government didn't like that.
Yeah.
The students and the government stood still for over a month. And at the end, on June 4th, the government decided to send a tank and took out the students.
Yeah.
So
That was a horrible day.
it was a horrible day, and it terrified my parents because they had already gone through the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
And knowing that Hong Kong would be returned back to China,
Yeah.
they were concerned about me.
Yeah.
So they decided to give me everything they had, really. We're not from a wealthy family, and send me here as a foreign student
Wow.
so that I can live in a free world.
Okay.
And Pastor Phil, I never thought in my life I would see this country moving away from being a free world.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's why I'm speaking out.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you're here today speaking out, Val. And I just want to encourage you that that's what this podcast is all about. It's about taking a stand and speaking out, sharing the truth, and giving that warning that the watchman on the wall is supposed to give so that the people can wake up and hear that warning and take the precautions that we need to take. And so real quickly, let's just summarize here. So your
Okay.
parents were born in China, then they
No,
ended
they
up...
were born in Indonesia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your grandparents were born in China.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then they moved to Indonesia where your parents were born.
Right.
And that's where they were lured basically by Mao back to China because
Right.
he was deceitfully telling people that everything in China was great.
Yes.
And they heard that. And
Yep.
so they went back to China, but that's where they were in for a shock, right? Your parents
Oh my goodness. You
got
have
to
no
see
idea.
what it was really like.
Yes, and not only so we moved as family. There were many youth also moved back to China as foreign students because the Chinese, they were Chinese teacher teaching Chinese school in Indonesia.
Okay.
They told the youth that in China, women hold up half of a sky, and men and women were equal, and
Okay.
women could divorce their husband.
Okay.
So that idea of being equal
Yeah.
was very appealing to the youth.
Yes. Okay.
And so many of them moved back to China and thought, they could just come back to Indonesia to visit.
Yeah.
But once they went in, they couldn't get out. It's like
Wow.
Hotel California.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Once you check in, you can never leave, right?
Right.
That's what the
And-
song says.
And the life was horrible. So
And so then from there, so there they moved to Hong Kong. Your parents
in the
moved
70s.
in the 70s moved to Hong Kong, and that's where you were born there, or
No, I was born in China
Okay,
during
in
the
China,
Cultural Revolution.
but you grew up in Hong Kong,
Right.
Okay, and then from Hong Kong, your parents basically gave you a gift to be able to come to the United States and as a college student.
Yeah,
That's
that
when
was
you
the
came to the United
greatest
States?
gift I've
Wow.
ever received from my
Wow,
parents.
wow.
They sent me free, not that they wanted to live without their daughters around them,
Sure.
but because they wanted me to live freely.
Wow. So they saw the United States as a place where liberty and freedom were being lived out every day. And they thought,
Yes.
this is our chance to
Right.
send our daughter to a better life.
That's right. And
wow, what a sacrifice. that they
yes,
made.
and that's why I feel like our family has given up so much for me to come here. I've already seen Hong Kong fall.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought civilization can fall like this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see this country fall.
Yeah. Amen. I'm right there with you. I love this country. I love the principles of freedom that it's founded upon, and I think that for many Americans, we're at a point now where we have to decide if we're going to continue to live free or if we're going to just cave in to the basically the one-party government that is seeking to implement itself
Right.
in our country right now and take over everything, and then it's just going to be over from there. So I think we're at that point. But today, you're going to be sharing a little bit about what happens, what you've observed, what your family has observed from real life when a government becomes the supreme authority. And that's really what communism is. Communism is basically trying to take the place of God. They don't want to acknowledge God. They want to be God
Oh,
in a
yes.
sense,
Right.
that all-encompassing authority in somebody's life. And so that's what we see happening there in Mao's communist China. But before we do that, I just want to put a quick commercial out there, advertisement really quickly for those of you that are listening. Val's going to be sharing her testimony with us coming up in several weeks here at the church. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be so good. So be looking for that. She's already shared her testimony here in Reno. at the Republican Women's Convention, and I happened to be there that day. And I was just floored by your story, and
Thank
I was
you.
just so blessed to hear it. And I said, you know what, this is something that every American needs to hear. It's something that every American today needs to hear. My sons and daughters need to hear this, you know.
Thank you. And may I just
Sure.
go back to what you just said earlier,
Yeah.
that our country is moving away from the original principle.
Right.
You said something like that.
Yes,
So
yes.
I see that. When I was learning about the Eastern and Western culture, way back when, I don't even remember when, but what I was taught was that the Western culture appreciate individualism. The Eastern culture was collectivism,
Okay.
like China, communism, right?
Right.
Meaning you give up your own thought and thinking, you go with what is being taught to you by the government or by a group of people.
Yeah.
And America is supposed to be one of the most individualistic country where we appreciate free thoughts and free thinking.
Yes.
And that's why there's so many innovations coming from the United States.
Right.
But I'm seeing that going away.
Yeah.
For example, we cannot even say that men cannot become women or men should not be in women's sports. And if we say that, we are being attacked.
Yes.
So that's group thinking.
Right. You're exactly right. Yeah, and that's being pushed with a plan behind it. You know, there's a plan to silence all those that are in opposition of, you know, what the social Marxists want to implement here in our own country. And if you speak
Exactly.
out against it, you get isolated and ostracized and canceled, or threatened and intimidated, even, into silence.
Yeah, and that's the big picture.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the cultural shifts that you're talking about. And as far as Mao, absolutely, he wanted to be worshipped as God.
Okay.
And sadly, strangely enough, there's still many people in China thought of Mao as God.
Wow. That's scary.
And they do not see how destructive the Cultural Revolution was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mao see religion as a poison.
Yeah,
He
right.
wanted to destroy it all.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we're going to get into that a little bit more in depth here today, but let's talk about when a government decides to take over the country with absolute power and they make many policy changes. And today, I know, Val, you want to talk to us about 3 specific areas where
Right.
a tyrannical government begins to implement and what they do to implement this absolute power scheme. And that's, they will implement policies economically, culturally, and socially. And then in the third area is spiritually.
Right.
And so let's talk about that first one today. Let's talk about how or what kind of policies or changes happened in China economically.
So I think the biggest one would be the Great Leap Forward
Okay.
that happened from 1958 to 1960.
Okay.
So at that time, Mao had a goal. He wanted to increase the steel production that surpassed Great Britain and the United States in 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
That was very aggressive. And they didn't have the technology then to mass produce steel.
Okay.
And the reason he chose steel, not to improve the citizens' way of life. That's the thing about tyrannical governments. They do not care about their citizens' life.
right.
All they care about is how they can strengthen their own political agenda.
Right.
So Mao chose steel because he needed steel to produce weapons.
Okay.
So how did he increase steel? He told the citizens that farming is no longer important. Give up farming, slaughter your animals, and you can make homemade furnaces and use your homemade furnaces to produce steel.
Wow.
Of course, it didn't work.
Of course. Yeah.
But at the same time, because we lost some farmland,
Mm-hmm.
and Mao used inexperienced young people to oversaw farmland.
Yeah. And real quickly, they lost that land because the government basically came in and said, we're taking over your land. Right?
Yes, yes.
That was before the Great Leap Forward.
Right. Thank
was
you
the land grab.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. So when he took over China in 1949,
Mm-hmm.
he first gave away the land from He took the land from the wealthy farmers,
Okay.
basically,
Mhm.
and landlords, and
Yeah.
gave them away to the poor peasants.
Okay.
And
So redistribution.
right, exactly.
Right.
But that didn't last long. 5 years later, he took them back, and that was
Wow.
called People's Commune.
Okay.
And in the process, he divided the citizens into different classes.
Mm-hmm.
So the wealthy people, the merchants, the landlords, the wealthy farmers
Yeah.
are considered the black class,
Okay.
where the poor peasants were considered the red class. They were the preferred people. But this type of classification did not last. When our family first moved to immigrant to China, they were considered the red class. They were the preferred people because they were showing loyalty to the government by moving back. But years later, they were considered black class. So they changed.
How did they get changed? Why? Do you know?
They just decided that they were not. I believe it was because they were not hardworking enough.
Okay.
Or maybe they were not tough enough.
Okay.
Life in China was very different than in Indonesia. They were not the toughest people.
Okay.
So they
just
were
basically for a
reclassified.
political convenience, they changed their classification in order to vilify them?
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay.
They did.
Yeah.
So, the classification, it's very subjective. That's the problem with a tyrannical government. When they have all the control, they can do whatever they want. It's not based on principle.
Yep. That's what the Bible tells us is when a tyrannical ruler steps in and takes over and there's no higher authority of law or God or high morals in their life, then they're going to be doing evil things. I mean,
Right.
the sin nature of human beings takes over.
And look at the evilness that happened after the Great Leap Forward,
Yeah.
that followed by the biggest famine in the world that I've mentioned earlier. And because there were less farm and the farmers were less experienced, the experienced farmers were told by the young, inexperienced people that were in charge of farming, they were told to just do deep plowing,
Okay.
put more fertilizer, plant the crops closer together, and you would still produce the same amount of crops. But we know that that's not going to work.
Right.
And we are seeing that now. That's what concerned me about this Green New Deal. It's a relatively new technology.
Right.
We don't even have enough infrastructure to power all the cars.
Right.
And yet our government is pushing electric vehicles. So our current administration is pushing for 2032 that 2/3 of all new vehicles have to be electric.
Right.
And then in California, all new cars, trucks, SUV have to be electric by 2035.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
And so what you're doing is you're taking this modern day occurrence of our government really pushing this new Green Deal on us and pushing towards these electric vehicles. And you're equating that, or you're likening it to what happened in China when Mao did the land reform and then tried to take the great leap forward by having the farmers producing steel and having young farmers that weren't experienced doing techniques that weren't good. And it basically led to a huge famine in which 20 to 40 million people were died as a result of that
Right.
famine. And you're saying that, hey, we need to take a warning from that, because if the government is doing the same thing here in the United States, they're trying to force us into this new technology that we're not prepared for.
Exactly.
It's going to have big consequences.
Yes, and for a famine to happen, we need two factors. Number one is reduction of food, right? And number two is reduction of transportation. So we are already seeing beef being attacked, beef farms are being attacked, and we are seeing less farm like California with the melt, the fish.
Yeah.
That they are trying to save the fish. So they're destroying a lot of farmland. And China own many meat manufacturers here in the United States. So
Wow, interesting.
between that and unreliable transportation, that could happen. Hopefully it will not. But if it did, then
you can see
we have
how
the
the stage
factors
is being
here.
set here. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're absolutely
absolutely.
right. You've been listening to Taking a Stand with Pastor Phil McKay. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share. Also, you can follow us on social media, and for more content, visit calvaryreno.org/takingastand. Visit calvaryreno.org to learn more about our church. And if you have a question, please email it to info@calvarychapelreno.org. And remember, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything.